Hi, Larry.
Al, how you doing today?
Just dandy.
Great.
Beautiful day up here.
I can see right now I got to increase my volume.
Could be me.
Having a hard time hearing you, but I'll get there. That's got to be better for me anyways.
Does it work?
Oh, yeah.
Me?
I can hear you loud and clear now.
Good.
Thank you. Like I got to close the shade. That's better. Oh, well, is the snow almost gone up there?
Yeah, it's just patches.
Yeah.
It's fine with me.
We're pretty done here. We got a couple of patches here and there, but usually just in parking lots and stuff where they pile it up.
Flowers yet?
They're coming out of the ground. I got daffodils and petunias up about 6 inches or so.
Cool.
Well, that's good.
Yes, indeed.
That's always a good sign. And the trees are, if you look at them close, they're starting to bud.
Getting that little psychedelic green color.
Yep. That's right. Probably no ice on the bay now.
Still a little bit in the harbor, and then the pack ice is down by the state park.
Okay, because of the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going anywhere this spring?
No.
And you stayed home all winter too?
Yes, we did.
So did I. First time in 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what my wife and I both said. Wow, we haven't done this before in a long time. I always love these meetings. No one shows up until just right before the meeting.
Yes. They're shy.
Yeah. I was talking to Jeff Grimm this morning or this afternoon. Looks like we have the possibility of a pretty busy April meeting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Potentially 3 public hearings.
Oh, yippee.
So we'll see. Well, my clock says we have about 4 minutes, and so far we just have you at the meeting as a planning commissioner.
Larry, we are here with about 5 planning commission members in attendance in person.
Ah, very good.
So it's a hybrid meeting.
So Al, we got to be careful what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We know all about oh, there's Jack. All right.
Yeah, we should have.
Jack Deegan here.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, guys.
So Beth will not be here. George will not be here. That's everybody else other than Jacob.
Oh yeah, Jacob. We got Nancy as she's just, I don't know who this John
Is we still on mute?
No.
Larry
just left. He just got.
Larry has left the building.
He was.
What is it? March 18th.
March 18th. Oh, there's Larry. He's back.
Larry.
Yeah.
In talking with Victor, we might have 4 public hearings next month.
Yes.
Remember, we also have the potential public hearing for signs and flags and that language. I got to get with Jim Raymer to see if he's finished with that yet.
All right. It gets better, Al.
Never ends.
Don't worry, and we're also going to be doing a backup master plan in addition to the regular master plan.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Good.
Don't get me. You don't want me to stay with here, do you?
You never know. You could use two plans, right? You have to have backup goals.
Oh,
For
sure.
this land somewhere in outer space.
Oh, yeah. If we get tired of doing the first one, we can just go right to the second one. See if we can get any better with that one.
We'll go above the bluff and below the bluff.
Underneath the bluff. Inside the bluff.
Well, Denny wants to do a parks plan,
Oh,
so
yeah. Yeah. That won't be as rigorous as
probably
this.
not.
No. Really, full house. Do we buy? You need the gavel?
I think it's close to 5:30.
All right.
All right, everybody. It's 5:30. Andrew has called the meeting to order. And we'll start with taking the roll. Mary Catherine Hanna.
Here.
Emily Dubay.
Here.
Jack Deegan.
Here.
George Pete and Beth Rahali are absent today. Bill Mulder.
Here.
Mark Boudet.
Here.
Andrew Bowman.
Here.
And Al Dyka.
Here, Harbor Springs.
Jacob Krieger, is he on the website at all? I do not see him. So, but we do have a quorum.
All right, moving on to the approval of the March 4th master plan meeting minutes. That's an unfortunate. Does anyone have any corrections or comments on the?
I have a grammar correction on page 4. Second sentence, was me saying that the waterfront should not be reflected into added.
Other comments, corrections on this? We have a motion to approve the minutes with one amendment.
Make a motion to approve.
Support?
And that was Emily that supported?
Call roll since we're spread out all over.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. We'll start with Al Dyka,
Yes.
Andrew Bowman,
Yes.
Mark Boudet,
Yes.
Bill Mulder, Jack Deegan,
Yes, I'd also comment, it's very hard to hear Andrew.
okay.
Thanks.
Emily Dubay,
Yes.
Mary Catherine Hanna.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to, sorry for those of you who are here that are yelling. Moving on to public comment correspondence. Anything that's not on the agenda tonight? Do you have any correspondence?
Well, Michael Esposito has come in to say hi and to talk about the Irish Boat Shop, but we talked beforehand and we thought it might be appropriate to allow him to speak after the items on the agenda, so he has a little bit more time, if that works for you, Michael.
Agreed on that? Okay, we'll move Michael's comments and update to the end of the meeting. But moving on to new and old business. Item A, site plan review, Shea Park, AHA boat, and I believe there's people here to do a presentation, so you'd rather listen to them than to me.
Yep, and I'll just give a very brief introduction. The city is working in conjunction with the Historical Society to relocate the AHA boat that they have been renovating or rehab, I should say, at the Shea Park. We've been talking about this for over a year now. It was originally stored at the DPW building site. We had asked the Historical Society if they wanted to take it over and figure out what to do with it. They did so generously, and they are now finishing up on the final touches to the boat. It's going to be like a very nice cruise ship. It's still a small little boat. But anyways, so we went to council a couple times on this, and to locate the boat at Shea Park, and perhaps to increase, things to do for the community, create a little historical corridor at that part of town, make some more activity to the park, and while with it only being some sort of light addition as opposed to doing a huge renovation at a park right now. We've had other ideas for the park, but this was the one thing we're coming to the council and planning commission for. So council approved it, barring any other restrictions or suggestions by the planning commission.
And just so we're clear, do you need recommendation from us or actual action and a motion, or how?
A motion. So council's already approved it with any adjustments for zoning or planning from the board. So they're fine. Yeah, they're fine with it being there. They're actually excited about it. But for example, does it meet our goals from the master plan and zoning perspective? So that way I'll give it to Kristen to take over from the Historical Society.
Well, thank you all for this opportunity. My name is Kristen Bailoff. I'm the Executive Director at the Harbor Springs Area Historical Society. And I'm joined here by Tom Moran, who has acted as our volunteer project manager on this project. We are working with the Industrial Arts Institute with the restoration of this project. So goal number one for us has already been met. We are so happy that this has been a hands-on learning opportunity for the students at the Industrial Arts Institute. We thank you for storing the boat for us for 16 years and for giving us the nudge to make something much more meaningful of this project. I just am here to update you on the progress. The boat is going through restoration of removing some of the bullet holes. However, it will never look perfect again. The images that I shared with you in your packet show what it looked like at the DPW, how the ballast was filled with concrete that's now been removed. And the photo below is showing the work in progress of removing the bullet holes. It's important as community representatives that you partake in making sure that this vessel is all that it can be for all of our community. And so I'm here to look for your feedback and just get some comments from you about the presentation that was in your packet. It is important to us that that this boat is an intentional relationship and an intentional opportunity for the city to benefit the whole community, to promote the history of our town. We would like to begin with this project in Shea Park. And as you all may know, we are working on the restoration of the Shea House itself as well. And who would guess that this 1894 vessel would be the catalyst for this big, beautiful Shea House as we know it to actually be finally restored eventually. But the little AHA zoomed in ahead of the Shea House, and that's where we're at right now. So I'm just here today to listen to your comments, answer any concerns you might have, and hopefully get your support to be part of this project.
Thank you. Anyone here or on the members that are online have any comments or questions about the information that was in our packet for this month?
For those that are online, if anyone has any questions from Al or Jack, if you have any questions about the presentation or what's in the packet, now's the opportunity.
No, I don't. I love the idea. I know that old boat, and I think this is it's a cool idea.
I guess my only thought, question, comment was right now you're not showing any pathway. You know, you've got the signs there and the boat, but it appears that people just walk over the grass, which I guess is fine. I just wondered if that was the theory, or if you can plan like a loop path, or if the city was thinking about that. That was my whole thing.
So currently, and I'll just even jump ahead and include lighting in that discussion. Currently, lighting and any infrastructure improvements have not been a part of our restoration of the vessel itself. In talking with Denny and the Parks and Rec director and with Victor, we have gone a little bit further on what this could be at a phase 2. This is intended to be a temporary agreement with us. We've talked in terms of a year to see how it works and what would be the best access point and what the Parks and Rec director gets planned for that space. So I do see that being the best use of this treasure in the future. However, to put it all into one project phase, it was too much. So I do see that as a great opportunity for a second phase.
Kristen, early on, there was some talk about building a platform so that people could climb up and take a look in. Now, without that, how would they engage with this? You walk up and look at the hall?
So, yes, and I understand that. We did, it has been, when it lived in the Discovery Park in Sheboygan, it did have a walk-up platform. However, I think we could all agree that's a handicap accessible issue that we would have to address, and it would be a huge added expense at this time. A couple solutions that came to mind for our committee. We have a committee of 7 volunteers working on this. And so in looking at it and really walking the property, the deduction was there's not a whole lot going on inside right now. Had we, 3D printed a trickle steam engine, that would be great to look into it. Again, another phase. We can all hope. And so at this time, the story itself is about the history of the vessel, and that's reflected in the exhibit panels that you see. Currently, I have 3 24 by 36 exhibit panels, and those will have some more photography and imagery on them. But at this time, looking into the vehicle or the vessel is not significant to its story, and we are hoping that the natural lay of the land while you're walking up on Main Street, the sidewalk, you'll have a clear view of the top of the vessel and the smokestack. So again, some of this is just going to be learned when we actually place the vessel in its position. It's very mobile, and Tom is here to answer any questions with regard to that. But we can manipulate the angle and the placement based on some of those things once we actually trial and error.
Thank you.
I love that this wants to come to that park. I always think if we could add a piece of history to a town, everybody benefits. And so I know nothing about the boat, and so I'm anxious to learn about it, and I feel like it's going to be a really wonderful attribute to the city. And I like Mary Catherine's suggestion about pathways. What are you seeing? But I love that if you're not going to do that right away, we just see how it is viewed. How are people coming up to it? Mm-hmm. These 3 different avenues that they can enter, and then make a decision then. And then the same with how you position it, and with lighting or whatever, let it kind of be for a little while and get the feedback from those that go to look at it.
And if
I think it's wonderful.
If I could add on top of that, another reason for not wanting to do any pathway yet is also because we're not sure if we just want to keep the rest of the space that way or if we want to do any other improvements to the park. So we don't want to add some other things that might be cost prohibitive in the future. Then we have to take them out, like a pathway or something. And this was pretty, when I was talking with Kristen and this Historical Society, this is pretty flexible. You could relatively easily move it and to another location on the park, and it'll be fine. But if you start putting in walkways and other things, then it could add. So we want to first do some planning with the park in the next couple of years until we know for sure exactly what we want that layout to look like as well.
This is Jack Deegan. I would agree with Emily. I think that was you speaking, Emily, that I don't see a need for a sidewalk. Let's see how it looks. And then, we can revisit that. But as a ship freak and freighter freak, I love this.
Mark?
Yeah. Initially, I like this initial location. It's tucked up in that corner a little bit, but doesn't dominate the entire park. It's not like it is still occur on the majority of the park. I like your point about it being, below eye level, when you're up at the top, up at the corner of the sidewalks. So you can see it, so it seems like a good initial site location for it. I can see a lot of different site improvements that will probably occur over time. That's probably.
Thank you, thank you. We can go crazy with colored pebble stone blue underneath instead of a concrete pad. I mean, you could really take off with these things. And Tom Moran has so much experience in doing it and has really guided, and Victor, we just really, I again go back to you as community representatives and all the people listening to be a part of how it develops and how it develops best for the use of the space and for the story of Ephraim Shea's influence in the history of Harbor Springs. So I appreciate that you all understand the phases that I think can best be the best solution for all.
Without, if there are any other member comments, but I also wondered, Larry, did you have any, your memorandum speaks for itself, but any quick thoughts on what we should be thinking about before we entertain a motion?
Well, I think this is a wonderful addition to Shea Park. It finally starts to give it some purpose, as it's always just been a green open field for decades, actually. And I think this is the beginning of something that'll be a real asset to the city of Harbor Springs.
Any other comments from the members or questions before I start?
I would like to just mention on lighting, there was some talk at the council meeting about like uplighting the hall. And I would like us to just be aware of the dark sky stuff that we're trying to do in the town and have any lighting be elevated and pointing down on the boat rather than pointing up into the sky.
Everybody able to hear Al comment?
Thank you, Al.
Dark sky. Thank you, Al. Personally, I think it's a great location. All the good comments have been made, so someone would entertain a motion. Don't think we have any, didn't sound like we had any specific recommendations to city council. I think the application's been well presented and covers any concerns.
I'll make a motion.
And that's motion that we need, I guess, would be to approve the site plan as submitted.
Yes.
I would second. I would support.
Support from Jack.
Support from Jack.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion?
All right, we'll do a roll call. We'll start with Bill Mulder,
Yes.
Mark Boudet,
Yes.
Andrew Bowman,
Yes.
Al Dyka,
Yes.
Mary Catherine Hanna,
Yes.
Emily Duvan,
Yes.
Jack Deegan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And
Yes.
if anything comes to the surface or you want to dialogue a little bit more about it, I'm at the History Museum Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
And now I'll ask you the loaded question we ask everybody after something's approved. So when's it going to be there?
I'm going to end with a little aha beverage for you all. I'll just leave that there for your meeting, okay? When it will be there will be the next discussion that we have with City Council, but it's on our calendar.
Great.
So thanks for asking.
And just really note, we have a message from Lee Kramer. Says, thank you folks from the AHA committee. I miss you guys. Thanks, Lee.
Likewise. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, I have a obvious conflict of interest, so I'm going to join the other side of the table and turn it over to Mary Catherine. And then you guys can pepper me with questions and insults. You see fit.
So for those that are on Zoom, in case you didn't hear, Andy Bowman is recusing himself. He is a conflict of interest in the next presentation. So Mary Catherine Hanna will be acting chair for this site plan review.
Also, if I have to remind me of the steps as we move through this. So the next item on the agenda, obviously, is the site. Roman, So Andrew, do you present first? Does Andrew present first and then we go to Larry's memo? Okay.
Sure, I can kind
Is
of
that
give a
fine?
rundown of why we're even here asking about it and then turn it over to Larry for his memo, but the only correction on Larry's memo that I noticed is it's the applicant is actually DOWMAR property. Really clever way of not having anybody figure out whose place it is. It's actually Martha Bolden, or Bolmar, the boss lady. Basically, through the original reconstruction of this property, it made sense at the time to make the structure support a second floor, and so it is all engineered with that in mind. We never really felt potentially like we would take advantage of that, but that was something that was considered originally. So there's not any significant structural changes that need to be made on the recently renovated restaurant side. And then over the last year, Chandler Simons, the tenant operator of Pearson's, we've discussed at different times, the use of the patio was always an important feature of that property. It's become far more important over the last year, and Chandler is an operator of, and be mad at me if I get this wrong, but at least 3 restaurants in the area, said he really feels strongly that there'll be a continued interest in outdoor seating, not just because of the traditional reasons that it's a nice place to sit, but hopefully this is a once in a lifetime experience, but people probably will remember it and want to continue to dining outside. So by covering the patio, that really opens up, I won't say 4 seasons of use, but maybe more of the one big season that we get, summer and some shoulder weeks here and there. So that was really the beginning of the conversation. Because of the building codes, when you build a structure like that, it does have to have a sprinkler system underneath. So the expense of doing a patio cover, while it seems like sort of a simple structure, is significant. So we've always had this idea that we would build a residence on the top of the building someday. The last year, oddly enough, has probably moved that viability for such a project up quite a bit in terms of what the potential rental of something like that might be, or we're not looking to sell any portion of the property or the property in its entirety, but the numbers start to look a little better actually after the last year, which I wouldn't have guessed that this time last year. So the reason it's really a 2-phase project. Any construction if we were to gain approval that would happen this spring would only be the patio cover and the staircase that you see that would eventually be an access to the private residence on the 2nd floor. If everything fell into place, we would potentially start construction on the residence in the fall. So not obviously during any of the months that the tenant doesn't want us there, the city doesn't want us there, and we don't want to be there. And Jeff and Peter Ford, who will hopefully, they will be the contractor if this gets approved, they don't want to be down there either during the summer. So as far as what you might see happening quickly, if this were approved, you'd hopefully would see the patio cover and the staircase completed quickly. There is no intention for any, and there will not be any public access to anything above grade. In fact, one challenge I have in my mind is how do we, it's kind of an attractive nuisance outside of a bar, eating and drinking establishment. So we are going to take some measures to politely and discreetly sort of discourage any adventurous people from joining us on the roof. But other than that, that's sort of an overview of why we're here and the project. It is, to our knowledge, it meets all the zoning requirements, and I can kind of take it from there after Larry does his portion. Or if there are any questions now, I'm happy to answer those too. So.
Any questions? All right, Larry, do you want to just step us through your memo quickly?
Yes, I will. Thank you. Probably the reason the R is an N is because it was a difficulty in reading the handwriting in the handwritten application. So I just made an assumption that what that mark was an R, or was an N, not an R. There's 3 primary elements to this site plan review. One is the use being proposed, the cover on the patio and the 2nd story residence. Are they permitted? in the zoning code. 2, what about parking? And 3, what about building height? The answer to the first question is the subsection 8 of the zoning code under the CBD district allows a second level residence to occur. And if they do, and they're over 900 square feet in area, they need to provide 2 parking spaces. That takes me right to the second element of parking. This property has 11 parking credits that were granted to them by the Planning Commission back in 1984, 85, all in association with the Merchant Walkway. And so those 11 parking credits still are in existence because they run with the property. And thus, 2 of those credits would be used by this second level housing unit if it were ever built. And thus that would reduce the parking credits to 9 parking credits for that living unit. And the third element is building height. On the building elevations, the height of the tallest part of the structure is 30 feet. There is a handrail that goes above that and other apparatuses associated with public safety. And there is an exemption in our zoning ordinance regarding life safety features on building height. Thus, all 3 elements of this site plan are met, and the site plan is compliant with the zoning code requirements. Our recommendation on this is, since the property is zoned central business district and the imposed improvements are permitted in the zoning code, and 3, that the improvements are consistent with the standards of the zoning code, we would suggest the Planning Commission look at a approval of the site plan for the second level living unit and a roof over the existing patio area with 2 conditions. The 11 parking credits would be reduced to 9, and that any new signage or lighting, which are not proposed at this point in time by the applicant, that the zoning administrator would handle the review and approval. But if questions arise, the zoning administrator can bring that request to the Planning Commission for consideration and action. Mary Catherine. If you're talking to me, I cannot hear you.
Sorry, I apologize. Projecting my voice. I was just saying, after having listened to Larry, do any of the members have any additional comments or questions for either Larry or?
I do not.
I like the way you fit it in. Very tough place to fit something in. And I like the architecture of it. It's fresh and clean. Nice job.
I agree with Mark. I think it, fits with the city, but it still has a fresh, clean look. And I like that it's open, so it's not like a solid presence where down below it's kind of solid with the white. I think it has like a nice glow. So well done. Swanson, is it Swanson who's doing it?
Karen Swanson, who helped us with the original renovation, and the idea behind it, and the only contribution we made to the design was to say we kind of want it to look like the original building is the original building, and there's something on changed on the top, but you're not trying to tie the 2 together because then it would sort of destroy the look of the original portion. She did a good job.
I've got a question for Larry. Can you hear me, Larry? Bill?
I can.
Okay. Now, there's a lot of talk about easements here. Are there any impact on easements, or it's all within the existing footprint?
Yeah, and Larry, I can probably review the easements if you'd like.
Well, I have actually looked at those, and given that the site plan for the restaurant, Pearson's, that's there, was approved, and it's on that same footprint, there are no impacts on the existing easements that are in association with this property or the Merchant Walkway. There was an adjustment made for the original site plan back in 2014 that was back there on the Merchant Walkway to accommodate the site plan. I think it was a 3 feet adjustment, if I recall correctly.
And those easements, do they all go forward in perpetuity, or is there a expiration on those?
They all go forward in perpetuity unless change between the two parties, which is the owner of 130 State Street and the city of Harbor Springs, and any other property owners that have are part of them.
Any other comments?
Any other comments from commissioners on Zoom?
I'm prepared to make a motion to approve it.
Are there any other comments from the public?
If you want to open it up to the public, you can.
Are there any comments from the public, either on Zoom or from those here in attendance?
Any comments on Zoom from the public?
Well, hearing none, is there, I think I heard somebody about to make a motion.
I think Al made a motion. Was that correct, Al?
Yes, I'd like to make that motion.
All right,
I'll second that.
so the motion is to approve the site plan as presented.
Yes,
Is
With,
that with the conditions? Larry?
yes.
yes, with the conditions.
Thank you.
And that was seconded by Mark Bidet. We will do a roll call. Mary Catherine Hanna,
Yes.
Emily Dubé,
Yes.
Jack Deegan,
Yes.
Bill Mulder,
Yes.
Mark Bidet,
Yes.
Andrew Bowman. Oh, no, Andrew is abstaining. Okay. Sorry about that. Al Dyka,
Yes.
motion passes.
Don't you want to ask him when it's going to be done?
I think you covered that, didn't you?
Thank you very much. Cheers. So that is all of the new and old business. Now we could move on to Mr. Esposito's update and comments on the Irish Boat Shop project. So thank you for coming in, actually approaching us to do this. So thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. Can I be heard?
Yes.
So I just wanted to stop by as a friendly neighbor. We have a big project that's been going on for almost 2 years now, that was in January 2021. And it's nearing completion. I'm thrilled with it, but I wanted the opportunity to give you a little overview, and then if there are questions or comments, it'd be a great time to do that. We started this with planning commission approval back in January of 2019. And then through a appeal with ZBA, that took us into May before we got a zoning permit. And then building permits took us until August. Then it was the season, so after Labor Day is when we broke ground in 2019. It took us 4 months to get out of the ground. Some of you might remember the bang, bang, bang that went on for a little while, and I appreciate everybody's patience while we put those pilings in. And then the steel went up pretty quickly in the winter. And then it was spring, and we were hit with COVID just like everyone else, and went through a 6 to 8 week shutdown. And honestly, we never really, or the project never really fully recovered from that shutdown, in the sense that there were scheduling problems, labor shortages, material shortages, supply chain problems. So it has taken a little bit longer than the original plan, but we're still very close at this point. I'm absolutely thrilled with the building. Mark, as you know, was the architect of the building, and the design criteria that we had initially, I think, have all been met. It's potentially not to everybody's liking, but I think it has served very well. I think it shows that you can have a commercial operation on the waterfront and do a nice job between both function and aesthetics. The inside of the building is fantastic. There are views of the water in the town from virtually every square foot of that building. So all in all, I'm really thrilled with it. But at the same time, there's been a lot going on for almost 2 years, and people may have questions or comments, and that's what I'm really here for. If there are any, What's the remaining timeline then, Mark?
100 years, it feels like. We have a temporary occupancy permit
for the lower floor, which we've been in for about a week or so. And if we all have our fingers crossed, we'll get a temporary occupancy permit for the remainder of the building in the next couple of days. And then the final permit is going to be dependent on landscaping, final zoning requirements that the city will have to approve. So that will take a little bit longer. So you'll be operating full blast this summer? And yes, sir. Yes. So we basically have to put asphalt down, and there's a final layer of asphalt and sod in the trees that are in the set. And that's what's left.
Honestly, I think the building looks great. I walk by it a lot of mornings on walking my dog, and I love the look of it.
I agree. I liked it as it was coming along, and then I went, I think I was maybe out of town when the sail went up on the side. The impression, and I just thought that really finished. I thought that really took the one space where I was kind of like, oh, it's sort of blank. Oh, yep, that was it. That was a plan there too that I forgot about. I think it looks great, and you guys did a great job under a lot of extenuating circumstances.
And this is Deegan. I love it too. And I would note that every time we drive by it, my kids love it. And I think it's a fresh new look down there, and also gives a really neat perspective of the harbor, a new and fresh and clean, more clean lines. So I'm very pleased. Nice job.
I agree. It looks great.
I have to say that one of the nicest views that I have of the building is when you're on Main Street, driving into town, you can look down and you can see through the building, through the water. And I
Right.
think people have more view of the water with that new building than we did with the original building assembly we had. You can see through it.
I agree. That was the first thing I thought when I saw the plan was when you drive down, you'll be able to see the water where before you had to be lined up with whatever the bottom of the harbor, the street as it came down, which is actually an easement through there. It opened, it actually increased that view shed by quite a bit.
And the site, from our perspective as operators, is 300 times safer for our customers and for the community and people that are there. It's a tremendous improvement in safety, which was another big part of it. So, thank you. I would invite you as a group, but more realistically individually, if you'd like to come down, stop in, or pick up the phone. We'll walk you through.
I'm sure Kyle has a question about where your employees will be parking now.
No.
I'm just joking.
It works great.
The tickets are going up to $500. Michael's been great last year. When we had any issues of parking or anything, I called and he resolved them. So he's been very good to work with.
Yeah, and in essence, the snow is mostly gone, and a group of employees have been parking there, but we still have contractors.
Good luck getting the last few things finished up, and can't wait to see you inside.
You're about to learn about that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Coming in.
Do we have any other member comments of interest?
Member comments from Zoom? Al or Jack?
No, thank you.
We are ready to
Just-
adjourn.
Just some quick staff comments before we quit for the day. Larry and I were talking earlier, and our next regular scheduled meeting is probably going to be a busy one. We have 3 for sure public hearings scheduled for the April 15th meeting. And we do need, I believe it's 6 people for a quorum for any decisions on those. But it's looking like a good meeting so far.
Anybody know offhand there's a scheduled trip during that time, or I know things come up, but
I won't be here for April 1st. That's what I'll attend.
I won't be, can we still attend virtually on April 1st?
We don't, so far, no. The state has not extended the Open Meetings Act to remote meeting. Yeah.
Do we need to contemplate moving that meeting?
Yeah, I won't be here April 1st.
And probably,
Yeah, that's.
uh,
Well, it's also spring break.
Yeah.
Let's look at the calendar because the next thing I need to do is put notices in the paper for when that public hearing would be. And if we know,
The
15th is the first.
oh, the 15th, the 15th,
Master
okay,
plan
it's just the
meeting.
first.
First, the master
Right.
plan.
And I don't know that, I mean, we'll probably just go to the next one. I
Yeah.
don't know that we need to reschedule.
By the time we reschedule it, it would almost be.
Yeah,
What's the month after it may?
yeah, and probably the 8th wouldn't be any better.
I know, I
That's
think
still-
the break runs.
Well, it runs
24
through the
sixth, six or
or
seven.
seven.
So are we looking at maybe just skipping the April 1st master plan meeting and doing the next master plan meeting at the May meeting?
On the 8th. you know.
Okay,
So May 6th.
Would you do it?
Oh,
Let's just, is everybody comfortable moving that, just skipping that one, going to May? Yeah.
we will make sure that the,
That sound good?
May 6th for the next master plan meeting. Does that sound good, Alan, Jack?
Yes.
oh, sure, it sounds great.
All right.
we will make sure that the calendars are updated to reflect that.
Great, thank you for bringing that up.
Mhm.
Any other comments? Concerns, going once, going twice, adjourn?
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Hi, everyone.
See ya.
Yeah.